Hello everyone, it's Synchro Fanatic here, and today's Sunday, so yesterday was locals, and I took Blackwings to the locals at Glasshammer Gaming, and we managed to get some really fun games. It's been my first locals in a long time. As you know, last time I said I'd quit. I am back, to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Just on a more casual level. Competitive is just not for me, so I'm just coming here today to give you a Blackwing profile that I took to locals yesterday. We ended up getting a 3-2 record. With more importantly, we've got some interesting games to play. Rather, the record's irrelevant, to be honest, but you know, just mentioning if people are more competitive, want to be more competitive with Blackwings, is that this deck can compete. It can do some really good things against the top tier meta. I don't think it's good enough, but it can definitely do well at like a local level, very well at a local level in my opinion. So anyway, without enough me rambling, let's get on with the profile. So as any standard Blackwing profile has, we play 3 copies of Simoon the Poison Wind. This card's your best starter because it searches Black Whirlwind from the deck and activates it on the field, and then you get to normal summon Simoon with his own effect. It's all one effect. This doesn't take up your normal summon for the turn either, and you can get an additional normal summon as well. With the standard, you know, you can normal summon an additional time for a Blackwing monster with no thung. So you end up being able to normal summon 3 times in a turn to make maximum use of your Black Whirlwinds. You do lose the Black Whirlwind at the end of the turn, and you take 1,000 points of damage, which is negligible, but you can also be cheeky and bounce it back with Zephyros if you want to work it into the combo to keep the Black Whirlwind. So awesome card, definitely one of the best Blackwing starters we got, alongside one of the new cards, Blackwing Sudri, the Phantom Glimmer. This card's great because you, on normal summon, add any card from your deck that lists Blackwing Dragon in its card text, and that's pretty much most of the new cards in the deck all have Blackwing Dragon in the card text. So all the new Blackwing monsters, and some of the older cards, and the new spells and traps, some of the older Blackwing spell and traps do mention Blackwing Dragon as this new wave of support is trying to work in Blackwing Dragon to become part of the Blackwing deck, which it does really well. He can also sacrifice a monster to make a level 2 tuner token, which enables him to make the level 6 synchros a lot easier. So this is a definite 3-of. This card is very, very good, and definitely another fantastic starter. There's so many times I had this in my hand and not Simoon, and I was still able to do like some really powerful combos and actually get myself through some very effective boards. So Sudri, I think, is probably maybe the best new Blackwing card from the set, but it's also tied, in my opinion, with this card, which is Blackwing Vata, the Emblem of Wandering. So this is one of the new tuners. He can special summon himself if there's a Blackwing on the field. And like, you know, you might notice a resemblance to Vayu. He has an effect about synchro summoning. He can be used as a synchro summon, thankfully, on the field, but you can also send non-tuner materials from the deck to equal the level of 8 with him being a 2. So you can say like a 6 or a 4 and a 2. And you get to special summon a Blackwing Dragon by sending him and those materials from the deck. You get to special summon a Blackwing Dragon. You are locked into dark monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, but that is pretty much the Blackwing thing, as you really want to be summoning dark monsters anyway, so this restriction only comes up in a couple of circumstances that you might want to not use that effect. But anyway, you can special summon him still and use him for a regular synchro summon. So he's a fantastic card, definitely a 3-of in the deck, and it's just enabled so many cool plays and stuff, and it's a fantastic card. Even if they ash this and you still have like a Blackwing on field, you can still make plays, so it's fantastic. And then alongside one of the other new tuners, Blackwing Shamal the Sandstorm. So this is a level 4 tuner. Doesn't have a special effect. The main reason Shamal is in the deck is to be able to place Black Feather Whirlwind from the deck onto the field. Black Feather Whirlwind is like a new extender play for us. It allows us to resurrect a Blackwing from the graveyard when we special summon a dark synchro monster from the extra deck. But Shamal also can then banish himself when a dark synchro monster is special summoned from the extra deck, or synchro summoned, to take any Blackwing from the graveyard and add it back to our hand. So Shamal is really good. I was very gassed when I saw this card because I thought it searched Black Whirlwind, but it doesn't. It only searches Black Feather Whirlwind. Black Feather Whirlwind was a lot better than I first gave it credit for. So I bumped up this card, the copy of this card, to 3, and even at its like low cost, it's got 1600 attack, which means if you have this with a Black Whirlwind, it can search the majority of your deck anyway. So it ended up being a really cool card, and you can just send it from the field anyway to search Black Feather Whirlwind if you need to. So Shamal's an instant 3-of because being able to search Black Feather Whirlwind and have all the play extensions is fantastic. So, and if worst comes to worst, you can just normal summon him and just get like a Black Whirlwind search if you have it. You could, I think, maybe tone down the copies of Shamal, but because he's got high attack points, I play him at 3 because he's not very searchable in the deck. Like, the only way you could then search him would be dumping him with one of the new Synchro monsters. So I ended up playing 3 because I want to see him to get Black Feather Whirlwind, and he is a level 4 tuner, so that does come in handy sometimes. And another one of the new Blackwings is Blackwing Under the Dusk. So from Darkwing Blast, out of the new Blackwing cards, I'd say Shamal, Vata, and Sudri are all fantastic. Zonda is the first one where I'm like, he's okay. He's still usable, but he's just kind of just a garnet in the deck, where you want to send him off Vata to make Blackwing Dragon, and you banish Zonda to special summon a level 5 or higher Blackwing from the deck. Which is obviously fantastic because it's an extension, but if he's normal or special summoned, you can target a card on the field and bounce it, which is nice, but you're never going to play 2 of this card because he's a brick. Like, if you draw this card, it's the worst feeling in the world in your opening hand because he's just sitting there dead. Although at Locals yesterday, I did have to normal summon him once, and I got a Black Whirlwind search off it, which was funny, but you never really want to search this card if you can help it. You just want to dump it off Vata for the Blackwing Dragon, and then you can use him later for either a push or a recovery play, because sometimes you can just banish this guy, special summon Side Moon from the deck, and you've got one of your tuners to make a synchro play afterwards. So he's still a really good card. Definitely you should play one of it just for that banish from graveyard to special summon, and his level's really good. And then one of the other new Blackwing cards is Blackwing Chinook the Snowblast. This card is actually really good because it's supposed to be a hand trap, so you can pitch her as cost, and then you get to send a Blackwing Synchro Monster or Blackwing Dragon from your extra deck as part of the effect to target a monster your opponent controls. It will do 700 attack, and its effects are negated. So it acts as a hand trap, because if you have a Dark Synchro Monster on your side of the field, it becomes a quick effect. But there's also another great use for this, is that you can use this proactively. So if your opponent has a board where they have some negations, you can just like normal summon Sudri, search Chinook because she's got Blackwing Dragon in card text, and then use her to like bait the negation out, which is really useful. Like in one of my games yesterday at Locals, I was playing against one of my friends who's playing Zephyr Sword Soul Tenyi, and he ended up making, admittedly not the scariest board in the world, but he had Zephyr War on the back row and the Sinister Sovereign Sword Soul, which, as you know, banishes spells if they activate their effect and whatnot. So he was going to banish a monster, banish a spell trap, which is really good against this deck because they do care about their continuous spell cards and they don't want them to be banished because obviously they won't get the benefit. So I ended up trying to act in that by normal summoning Sudri and then searching Chinook, pitching Chinook, and then negated the Sword Soul Sinister Sovereign, which just allowed me to just carry on and not care about the rest of the game. So, but you can also dump Blackwing Dragon or the Synchro Tuner monster to be able to make Blackwing Assault Dragon, so, which I'll get to later, but she's a really good card and definitely one I like to play 2 copies of. 3 is too many because, again, she isn't really meant to be a play enabler, but I think 1 just isn't enough how useful she is. And then for the OG Blackwings, I play 2 Bora the Spear. Bora is just a nice monster to normal summon to search for Black Whirlwind, but he's also a nice extender for some extra damage, and alongside his old buddy Gale the Whirlwind is an easy level 7 play. Like, you can get Bora, normal summon Bora, or special summon it, whatever, and then if you have Gale, it's an easy level 7. So I still think he's useful just for his decent attack stat, and piercing can get you some cheeky damage sometimes, but there's definitely other cards you might want to play besides Bora. I just think having him, gives you some more pushes, gives you more extensions. It can really help with the overall, because some Blackwings get more benefits to their effects if you have more Blackwings on the board. So Bora's just good. 1 copy of Zephyros the Elite. Zephyros is dumpable in this deck. You could play like Lastrix if you want to special summon from the deck, but you can bounce your Black Whirlwinds back, your Blackwings that special summon themselves, like Bora the Spear, for example. You could bounce Bora back, special Zephyros, and then Bora just special summons himself back out again. And with Blackwing Dragon, the 400 points of damage ends up just not even bothering you because you just put Black Feather counter on him instead, and you can take advantage of that counter later. Arashi the Squall is another card I play at 1 of because you can search this very easily at the end of your combo, and with Zonda the Dusk being banished from the grave, you can special summon Moon, special summon Orochi, and that's an easy level 7 synchro monster to be able to make a recovery play or a push. And the last Blackwing I play is 2 copies of Blackwing Combat in the Dust. Blackwing Combat in the Dust is good because with Shamal, it's a level 6 synchro, so you can go into No Thung or the new Synchro Tuner monster. But Harmattan's also really nice because you can level modulate. So if you need a specific synchro, but you don't quite have the levels in hand or be able to search the levels, because Black Whirlwind has a requirement that the Blackwings you search need to have less attack than the one normal summoned. You can just search Harmattan the Dust if you can work it out, special summon him, and then have a monster that you can target and gain its level. So he'll be level 2 plus like a 4, for example, which will make him a level 6. So with that in Shamal, you could have Shamal on the field, for example, special summon Harmattan, keep him at a level 2, and that's a level 6. But if you want to, you could then add Shamal's level 2 Harmattan and make him a level 6, and that's like a level 10 Synchro monster. So he's a very flexible Blackwing monster. I think I might cut him down to 1, but I also like dumping him with Boreas to make him level 2. So I always have the second one just for the dump if I need it. And having just the 1 in deck is sometimes a bit like I want to search him because of his low attack points. Like low attack Blackwings are really good to search off Black Whirlwind because sometimes you normal summon a Blackwing and you don't really need anything off Black Whirlwind, but you get the search anyway. So why would you just not take the plus? And you want quite a few low attack Blackwings, so you can add them to your deck. So Harmattan's pretty good. I could definitely drop him to 1 though, I think, and get away with it. But I played 2 at the minute just for security. When I'm more comfortable with the new cards and like the optimal like play routes and stuff, I think I could probably drop him down to 1. But for now, I think 2 is correct for my list. And for now, the last 2 monsters are just 2 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. This was ratio stuff, so I didn't have the room to play the third copy to make it 40. I was like, well, I either play the third and make it 41 and make my consistency a bit iffy, or just keep the 2 at 3. You know, so I just play the 2 like a madman. So came up a couple of times, so I never really contribute to like cloggy hands half the time, so it was alright at 2. And that's it for the monsters. So for the spell cards, we have the new continuous spell card, Black Feather Whirlwind. Now, this isn't Black Whirlwind, so it's not like going to be searching, but what this card does is when you special summon a Dark Synchro monster on the extra deck, you can target a Blackwing in the graveyard or banished pile and special summon it. So, with less attack than that special summon monster and special summon it. So the idea is that you want to be able to make like a lot of plays better. So a lot of the time, because your synchro monsters have huge attack points, that gives you a lot of options to be able to push with Black Feather Whirlwind. Like, I don't think there's a synchro monster in the extra deck that has less than 2,000 attack points, personally. Let me just double check a sec real quick. Yeah, like everything's like 2-4, 2-4, 2-3. So that's pretty much the majority of your main deck and a couple of your extra deck pieces if you summon one of your really big synchro monsters. But you can also protect your dark monsters from being destroyed by battle or card effects if you remove a Black Feather counter on the field, which is what Blackwing Dragon is all about. So I thought this card was kind of doo-doo when I first read it, but upon playtesting and learning about it, it is fantastic, and it is really a nice card to have. It's definitely what I think the deck needed, was some sort of recovery play, and it can help you extend your plays without having to overcommit resources, because you can just get you them back. Especially, and the best bit is, even if the card is banished, you can still get it back with Black Feather Whirlwind. And then obviously, I play 3 copies of Black Whirlwind. I mean, if you know what Blackwings do, you know why this card's insane, and you definitely need to be playing it through because it's the heart and soul of your deck. So, no arguments from that one on anyone, I don't think. Now, this is going to be a bit of a non-budget option, but I play 3 Pot of Prosperities. You don't need Pot of Prosperity for this deck if you're wondering, like, oh my god, I need Pot of Prosperities. I just have them, so I use them. Pot of Prosperity just allows you to, like, sculpt your deck to search, you know, Sign Moon, so you can get Sign Moon or Sudri in hand so you can start making plays. And because this deck doesn't really draw many cards, that doesn't really bother you, and you can obviously go in later on in turns, you can do your damage first and then Pot Prosperity for like looking for a trap or something. So it's a fantastic card in this deck because you can get away with just sculpting a few extra deck monsters, and you don't really need to, you never really need to banish 6. It's only in like desperate scenarios where you might want to banish 6, but I just don't really see the need to banish 6 ever, because you just usually get the 3 and it usually gets find something. But it's just a nice consistency option because I don't like a Lair of Darkness in this list. The draw card I do play though is 3 copies of Wing Requital, because this is just a straight up +1, and because most of your deck is Winged Beasts, you can just special summon a Winged Beast, or normal summon a Winged Beast and then special summon another one. Playing Wing Requital, get 2 cards to draw, you take 600. Like, it's a +1, so I don't know why you like it does conflict with Pot of Prosperity, but at the worst case scenario, even if it does, if you say open both of them, you just look at your hand and say, if I don't have Simoon, I'll Pot of Prosperity. If I do have Simoon, I'll probably try and Wing Requital instead and keep the other one for next turn. So it's just not that big a deal. And the one good thing I do like about playing Wing Requital is when I'm siding, I tend to side these out because I don't need both Pot of Prosperity and Wing Requital at that point, and I can side these out and then use the Pot of Prosperity to look for the side cards. So it's a nice little side package for this, where I can just play these going first for optimum consistency, and then drop the Wing Requitals for like my side deck choices, and use the pots to search them. So I think it's worthwhile to do it that way, and it seemed to work pretty nicely yesterday. And then for the utility spots, I play 2 Cosmic Cyclones and Call by the Grave. Call by the Grave is obviously Call by the Grave. I don't need to really explain why that card's insane and probably should be banned. And 2 Cosmic Cyclones just for utility, because I wasn't sure what I was going to find yesterday at locals, so I threw these in just in case shit happened. And that's for the spells. So for the trap cards, I play the 2 new ones, Black Shadow Squall and Blackwing Twin Shadow. So Black Shadow Squall is a spell trap negation. You remove a Black Feather counter from the field, negate a spell trap and destroy it. And then if you have Blackwing Dragon, you can reset it. So it has some useful recursion. A Blackwing Twin Shadow is essentially a urgent tuning sort of effect, where you take a Blackwing tuner and a Blackwing non-tuner from your graveyard or barrage pile, return them to the deck, and special summon a Blackwing Dragon or a Blackwing Synchro Monster from your extra deck. It's a special summon, so it ignores the summoning requirement stuff, but it's also treated as a Synchro Summon, so any Synchro Summon related effects do trigger, which I'll get into why that's important in a bit. But that's it for the main deck, so we're going to go to the extra deck now, and we're going to start with Nothung, Blackwing Nothung the Starlight. Nothung deals burn and can reduce the attack points of a monster, but more importantly, he is your additional normal summon generator, so you have Simoon as the normal summons himself with his own effect. You have your inherent normal summon for the turn, because that's your right, and then Nothung also generates an additional normal summon. So this can get a bit confusing for people who think like, oh, but I thought you could only get one additional normal summon per turn. With Blackwings, Nothung does give you the generic, like, additional normal summon, but Simoon's effect is his own thing, so it doesn't conflict with Nothung. So it allows you to get like 3 normal summons a turn, which can get you some mad pluses with Black Whirlwind, obviously. So that's why he's here. And then the new Synchro Tuner monster, Blackwing Boreas Storm the Wicked Wind. So he's a Synchro Tuner, and on Synchro Summon, you get to send a Blackwing monster from your deck to the graveyard, and the level of Boreas will become that Blackwing. So this is just effectively here just to dump, so you can dump any Blackwing, and then Boreas will just become the level of that Synchro monster. That monster from the deck. So usually I like to send the level 2, because then I can use the Blackwing Dragon I summoned off Vata, for example, and then use him in the level 2 to make Full Armor Master or the new Synchro Monster Blackwing Assault Dragon. But Boreas Storm is also really good and really important in this deck too, because, you know, you can banish one off Prosperity if you need to, but he's really good at copies because he can level modulate himself into anything. So awesome Synchro Monster. He has a Goyo Guardian effect, but you're never really attacking with this guy, so that very rarely comes up. And even if it did, like, that's not really good enough in 2022 anymore. 1 copy of Blackwing Tamer Obsidian Hawkjaw. Still play this card because recurring your Synchro Monsters from the graveyard is obviously very, very nice. You can resurrect any level 5 or higher Blackwing monster from the graveyard. And you can basically tag him out if he's targeted for something with a different Blackwing. So if your opponent would attack him and you have another Blackwing, you can just say, you're not hitting me, you're attacking like Full Armor Master or something with his additional effect, which never really comes up for me very often, but when it does, it might be really nice that you can have Hawkjaw, bring back Full Armor Master, they attack Hawkjaw, and you say, well, no, you're attacking Full Armor Master now. So pretty cool card. Pretty cool card. Obviously really good for recovery. 1 Assault Wing Blackwing right with the Rain Shower. This card's crazy for pushing boards, breaking boards, going second, because you can just pop cards for every Blackwing you control besides himself. So I ended up like making like 2 pops, 3 pops. Like, you're just really good to apply pressure and push for the OTK. And definitely a card I think should be in every Blackwing extra deck. It's just fantastic. 1 Assault Blackwing Shidori the Rain Sprinkling. This card gains 300 attack for every Blackwing in your graveyard. So I play this to get over massive, massive unaffected body threats. Yesterday I did come up against a at Ignista Mathmech player who made a 6,000 attack point arrival at Ignista, and I did my absolute damnest to push the deck to just keep dumping Blackwings in the graveyard. I got to about 8 and couldn't get this big enough to just hit over it because my opponent also had some interruptions to stop me doing my full combo. So I couldn't get the 12 Blackwings needed in it. I could get to like 8, but with 12 Blackwings, he's like gets an extra 3,600 attack, which could make him like 6,200, so he can swing over stuff. So he's just here to get over big beat sticks and just be a massive threat. And if he's destroyed, he can resurrect a Winged Beast Synchro monster in your graveyard as well. So he's also recursion. So definitely another good level 7 alternative. One copy of Black Rose Dragon. I might end up dropping this because it's not dark and I never really wanted to go into this because half the combos just require you to use the effects to make dark monsters. So this gets shut off 99% of the time. And while it should be good going second, you just never end up making it unless you hard open Borer and Gale first and then just nuke the board. And half the time that's like turns off some of your other Blackwing effects. So yeah, I probably will end up dropping this. I just don't... It's tough with Synchro decks because it's what do you play alongside it. Because I could play a copy of Lastrix, but again, as I'm not playing the Phantom Knight stuff because I don't really like that version, it's tough to really find a replacement. But so I may end up swapping it for a Lastrix as a just in case things happen sort of deal. But yeah, she just never came up, and in testing, I don't think she is going to come up. But in theory, she was good just for being able to help me go in second. But I have other options, so I don't really need Black Rose Dragon. And then for the level 8s, obviously with the new support, we have to play a bit of a card I really don't like playing because it's so bad, but with new support it's actually usable. We play 2 copies of Blackwing Dragon. I had to buy a second copy that's a common to go with the Ghost Rare. But yeah, Blackwing Dragon is now very usable with this support. His effect is still kind of doo-doo, but 2/8 body is nice stats, decent attack, easy to make, easy to special summon, turns on some of your other spell traps and other effects. So they've just really made this new support to tie him into the archetype, and it did work. Like, the reason you want to play 2 as well is it is an easy send-off Chinook, and with him in the graveyard and Boreas Storm in the graveyard as well, you actually get to cheat out the new Blackwing Dragon Synchro monster for free. So playing 2 I think is correct. It really annoys me that I have to play him because I don't like this card at all, but the new support is so good that it makes it so it's tolerable to use him. And there actually was a time there was a game in locals yesterday where I actually had to hard make this to make sure I kept it on the board. And I was so livid that I was like, this is actually the correct play, is hard making a Blackwing Dragon. Like, I was so annoyed. It's just I hate the fact we have to play it, but he is good enough to play now. And another card I never thought I'd have to play because it's terrible, Blackwing Silverwind the Ascendant. So this is in combo with Blackwing Twin Shadow, whereas Blackwing Twin Shadow, the way it's worded the way it is because the special summon doesn't care about the restrictions on Silverwind, because Silverwind needs 3 monsters effectively to be synchro summoned, but Blackwing Twin Shadow is a special summon, so it doesn't care about the synchro summon requirements because it's not trying to synchro summon, it's trying to special summon the monster. But when the special summon succeeds, it treats it like it was a synchro summon. So Silverwind gets tricked essentially and gets told that, oh yeah, I'm special summoning you. Oh yeah, but you got synchro summon. So it overwrites his requirements of needing 3 monsters, just uses 2, and then afterwards says, by the way, you synchro summon. So effectively the reason this is done, because during your opponent's turn, you activate this and like make sure it's the first in the chain link, by the way, because this can miss timing. So you do this, synchro summon this guy, and then during your opponent's turn, he just activates his effect because he's been synchro summoned and pops 2 of their monsters with defense less than his attack. This is a very powerful disruption. I did this against a player yesterday, and he effectively had to scoop afterwards because his only play was making a synchro summon, and I just nuked the 2 monsters, and then he couldn't play after that. So very powerful disruption. It makes Silverwind a lot more usable. And then for the other level 8, I play a single copy of Crystal Wing because you do make some level 7 synchro monsters from the graveyard. So you like Obsidian Tamer Hawkjaw, you can bring back the Raikyuri. So there are occasions where I do see myself making Crystal Wing. I didn't make him yesterday, but there's definitely times where I see myself making him. So I could definitely drop him for something else, like maybe another good Dark Synchro monster comes out, because I would be playing Chaos Ruler if they hadn't banned it. But hey ho, he's good enough. And then for the big dudes, Blackwing Full Armor Master. I played 2 copies of it. Unaffected by all card effects, can take control of a monster with a wedge counter on it. Puts a wedge counter if a monster activates its effect. This card really isn't as good as people probably look at and think, oh my god. It's just very annoying to deal with because you have to just outright run over it or it steamrolls you. You know, it's effectively a rogue bully, as I like to call it, where rogue decks that aren't equipped to deal with high attack power, like threats that are unaffected, just auto lose to this card. So it's still really good, still a fantastic monster to make, and will definitely cause your opponent to have to really respect this card. And if they try and use monster effects, you can obviously nick the monster afterwards on your turn. But this isn't like as crazy as Masterpiece was or anything, but it's still probably the best Blackwing Synchro monster that's an offensive threat, a defensive threat in my opinion. Just always make sure you summon it in defense, because most of the time because the 3k stat line is its biggest weakness, because most big monsters have 3k attack, and if you leave him in attack position when you make him, they can just crash into it, whereas if he's in defense mode, they can't kill him or crash their own monster, so they can't actually get rid of him if their monster has 3k attack. So I always summon this in defense, because then if they try and crash into it, if it was in attack, they'd obviously lose their monster and I'd lose my Blackwing Full Armor Master. But in defense, if their monster's got 3k, they can't get over it, so it sticks. And then for the new Blackwing Synchro monster, Blackwing Assault Dragon. This card is pretty nice because of his cheat ability, where you can cheat him out by banishing a Blackwing Dragon and a Blackwing Synchro Tuner from your graveyard to special summon him. He burns for 700 when your opponent activates a monster effect on resolution, like a Trickstar. So with 2 of these, you're burning them for 1400, and he puts a Black Feather counter on himself as well. And then he can attribute himself to destroy all cards on the field during your opponent's main phase. If he didn't have the cheat requirement, I think this card would be very underwhelming. But with the cheat requirement, it is very easy just to be able to use that Tuner Monster and Blackwing Dragon to make, say, Full Armor Master or one of these, and then just cheat another one out, maybe a recovery play. Because you don't have to cheat him out, you can just leave him for future plays, which I did on one occasion. But in a game yesterday, against a Mathmech Agnista player in round 1, if you want to see that game, potentially check out Glasshammer Gaming. There might be a game up. My opponent had to do his combo while staring down Full Armor Master in this. And he ended up burning himself down to 300 life points just to try and out this board, because he had to do the combo. And he didn't know how to get it out otherwise. And he made access code, and effectively he couldn't obviously use access code's pop effect because he would be burned to death. And he ended up trying to crash over my Assault Dragon, which, you know, I protected with the Black Feather counter, and then he crashed over one of my Full Armor Masters, and then I just burnt him with No Thumb's 800 burn effect. So against combo decks, this card is very deadly, because especially if they use monster effects, because they have to make their board with monster effects. If there's 2 of these and they're using a wad of monster effects, that's 1400 points of burn damage just for using a monster effect. That's very deadly for a lot of combo decks, because obviously 1 is 1400, then you got 2 is 28, 3 42. You know, it starts adding up very quickly, and they end up being in a position where they have 200 life points left. They can't use monster effects, so it's okay, I can just make no thing now and finish you off. But it's very damaging and very deadly. It was started raining. It's a pretty good synchro monster. So I think the extra deck, the only thing I'd change would probably be the Black Rose and maybe Crystal Wing if we get a good Dark Synchro replacement. I might drop Black Rose and play Scarlight instead, because Scarlight's the only other Dark Synchro monster I think is worthwhile. And for the side deck lineup, this is going to be changed, I think, as well. I played 3 Dark Will and No More. I don't have Forbidden Droplets, otherwise I would be playing that, because I would actually like doing damage, but this still helps me try and break through, break my board style deck, so it's still really good and the best thing I can play. I played 3 copies of Nibiru, the Primal Being. This never came up. I didn't see it, so I think in theory, because of how my locals plays, it should still be good in theory, but at the same time, I'm not sure if I'd still play this in the side deck. I might try and swap it for something more beneficial, because I don't think I really need to play my Nibiru in this, but it was good in theory with the locals where I didn't know what was going on. 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier. Again, it's really good against like branded decks, against decks that want to exceed. Anything that says I do one particular summoning mechanic, you drop this in and it's like an instant pass. So obviously fantastic for going first. And again, I usually only sided in 3 cards with the 3 ring requital, so I never really oversided for me. 3 Eradicator Epidemic Virus, because your monsters are massive, you can obviously play this. I used this against my round 4 opponent, or tried to, and then I kind of had a brain fart moment because I didn't know how Sprite play, because again, I don't really pay attention to the meta, and thought, oh, I wonder if Sprite can out a 3000 attack point, defense point unaffected by monster effect. And he ended up Harpy's Feather Dustering the Eradicate, which I was like, fine, and then I got Lava Golem. So this is still really good. I don't know, I don't know how that would have impacted that game against him. It might not have done anything, but it's still really good against decks that need their Spell and Trap cards, so I defo will keep that in the side deck. I think it's really good. And then I play, obviously, Harpy's Feather Duster, and 2 copies of Hey Trunade. If I had Lightning Storms, I'd play Lightning Storms, but Hey Trunade is the next best thing, and it's a much cheaper alternative until I can get my hands on them, if I want to. But Hey Trunade, you don't really care, you just bounce their stuff and then you can just push forward. Like, Hey Trunade's a little worse, obviously, because if they got any floodgates, they have to flip them there and then, but at least you know what you're dealing with at that point. And it's also good, because if you open both of these, for example, you go Hey Trunade, and then they have to, like, bounce all their stuff back, or maybe flip the floodgates. And if they had, like, Judgment or anything, they have to consider, do I use Solemn Judgment on a Hey Trunade that's not really going to destroy my stuff? And most times I think people will just leave it and then hope you don't have Harpies. But if you do have these two, it's like, okay, Hey Trunade, show me your floodgates, bounce the rest of your stuff, and then Harpies at the back row, and then you just carry on. So, but yeah, if I had Lightning Storms, it'd be Lightning Storms over Hey Trunade, but Hey Trunade's the next best thing. Although I could play both, I suppose. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. That's been my Blackwing Deck Profile to locals. Had a lot of fun with this deck. Obviously, the new Blackwing support is fantastic. Really done a good job by Konami, because, of course, they love their Blackwings, don't they? But, yeah, I really enjoyed my locals, return to locals. I think it was kind of scary. Like, preemptively, it was a bit scary to go back to after being so long, and I saw the power of Sprite in full display. But again, this is just something I'm going to do casually just to enjoy myself. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a fun game when you're not putting this pressure on yourself, and that's what I try to do. I just try saying, you know, we'll go there, have some fun games, come back satisfied. And that's what happened. Like, I had a really good time yesterday. So, anyway, I have been the Synchro Fanatic. These have been Blackwing, so it's goodbye from me and Lugia, and we will catch you next time. See you later.